So I think you guys know hip hop turned 50 not too long ago, right? And somebody finally wrote the book that asked the question everybody skipped. What if it was never just music? It was never just about music, right? I'm Tanya McKenzie, Chief Controller. This is Control the Narrative, and my guest today sold 3,000 copies of his first book by hand on subways, on buses, on street corners in New York. In New York. No publisher pushed him, no algorithm, just him, a rap tour, and people who needed to hear it. Okay, now he's back with a book that has an introduction by Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. Let that sink in for a second because Dyson don't do fluff. He does not co-sign fluff and filter. We know that. He always comes with the heat. The book is called Let My People Flow: Hip Hop and the Black Prophetic Tradition. The argument is not a soft one. I want you to let it sink in. Hamilton says hip hop is not a departure from the Black church, the spirituals, or the blues. It's the same voice, a different room. He traces it: scripture, enslaved Africans singing in code, blues, gospel, then the South Bronx, broken, neglected, producing the most influential art form on the planet. Okay? His thesis is the Cypher is a pulpit. The Psalms and a 16-bar verse are doing the same job. Do you hear me? Telling the truth when nobody wants to hear it. Mr. Hamilton, author, rapper, and current Masters of Divinity student, okay? Continuing his education. He joins me today. So I want you to stick around because we're not doing soft talk. We're not soft walking any of that. We are controlling the narrative. How are you?
What's going on, Tanya? What's going on? Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm thrilled because, I've been called a heathen for listening to rap music. So I just brought you
What?
here to make me feel better about what I'm doing in my life.
Will do. Will do. Shame on them. Shame on them.
Seriously, though, I love that you are bringing this together. I think that the conversation is well overdue. And I want you to tell me why you decided to write this book.
Man, I had to write the book because ain't nobody else wrote it. And
I
that's the
heard that.
crazy thing. Like, I've been shaped and molded by hip hop. I've heard what people have said about hip hop ain't no good and it's damaging the Black community. But I feel like so much of who I am and what I've been able to accomplish has come because of the music that shaped me. And so thinking about that, plus having a spiritual background, a spiritual upbringing, and a deep connection to my faith, I just can't compartmentalize those things. And I just feel like there's something that we haven't seen about the rappers, who they are, and the messages they speak. So I had to write this book and just let people know what's really going on.
So glad you did. Now, you're from Atlanta, right?
I'm from Atlanta. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, listen, I want you to tell me a kid from Atlanta, now in New York, selling books hand to hand in New
Yeah.
York. What made you trust the street corner over a marketing plan?
Yeah. I mean, so I grew up in Atlanta. I kind of always felt like I had one foot in both worlds because it was like I lived technically in the suburbs, but my family was very intentional to make sure that, I had those city experiences that my parents did growing up. And they knew that there's a certain grit, there's a certain hustle that the city shapes in you. So naturally kind of navigating both of those worlds. I remember in Atlanta being a child artist, a child rapper. I would my parents would drop me off, you know what I'm saying? And I have a backpack full of mixtapes. And I just walk up to people in the city and hold my mixtape. Or like a couple years later, you know what I'm saying, when I turned 16 and got my license, I drive to every barbershop that I could and walk in there with my backpack selling my mixtapes, introducing people to who I was, making some cash. So I've always kind of had that hustle mentality from a young age. And so when I got to New York, fell on hard times, ended up kind of being homeless and not really having money to eat. I resorted back to what I know, and that's how to make money using your gifts. And so I found myself, you know what I'm saying, rapping on the train, holding out a hat to get some tips. and the hustle from there has kind of always been elevating or changing depending on what season of life I was in. So
When I heard that, I was, listen, I was drawn to that story because I'm from the Bay Area, and we know that's one of the places where people learned how to hustle their mixtapes from their trunks of their cars and
yeah,
whatnot. But let me ask you this: do you think that certain environments are more conducive to the hustle culture, or is it everywhere and we just don't know too much about it? Because the New York, yes; Atlanta, yes; Oakland, the Bay, yes; different parts of the country. But there some places where hustle culture just would have never worked.
man, I used to think that, and then I started meeting some people from places I had never heard of, and I was
Mm.
just like, hey, really, it's some hustlers everywhere. And it really, it made me realize that, yeah, there's some places where it may be harder, but it's really something that's in you. And honestly, if we really honest, people look at the negative side of hustling, but I feel like hustling is really something about you being passionate about people. Doesn't mean we don't always use it for good, but if you're passionate about people and a message and what you got to say, I feel like it brings that hustle out of you. And I've seen some people who, from like, where you from? And they out there doing the same thing. So, you know what I'm saying? It's in you.
What are some of those stories? What is the most bizarre, like, I would have never thought where someone was hustling and grinding and you were like, what? They do that
Yeah,
there?
man. So the crazy thing is, me and a couple people that I know, we went to this small town called Lebanon, Pennsylvania. If
Mm.
anybody know about Lebanon, Pennsylvania, I didn't know about Lebanon, Pennsylvania. But when I got out there, we was doing community work. We was doing like these little, we had set up speakers and microphones in the middle of like a neighborhood and just kind of do outdoor concerts and try to just kind of make our presence known in this small town. And people would come up and kind of let me know, hey, you know where you at? Like, this is one of the dope capitals. Like, this, it get real out here. And I'm like, Lebanon, we ain't scared of, but it was just kind of like I realized real quick it can get real wherever you at. And that was one of those moments that shaped me. I met some people, heard some stories, and I was just like, wow, okay, it's hustlers everywhere. So that's one off the top of my brain that I think of. Small town Lebanon, Pennsylvania.
That's hilarious. I met this girl, and this is in California, and this girl in came to my dorm, and I went to school in L.A. in Northridge in the Valley, and she was like, Paramount, we from Paramount, and I was like, Paramount, like where they make movies? What? But then I drove through there, and I was like, bet, got you,
I be,
okay,
yeah.
okay,
It's a hood
Paramount,
everywhere. It's a hood. Yo, you saying something so real, because really, it's like wherever you are, not everybody is at the same economic level. And the people
correct.
who hungry and the people who got to get it, you know what I'm saying? They going that hunger going to show. So that's real. That's
Yeah,
real.
and I saw all of who she was the minute I drove through Paramount. I was
Yeah.
like, bet, I got you. All right. Let's talk about the title though. Let My People Flow. That's not subtle. You're
Yeah.
kind of pulling strings from the Exodus. Walk me through why you framed a hip hop book as a liberation story.
Yeah. Let My People Flow. Probably one of the favorite things of mine about this book is the title itself. I feel like the title is exactly what a rapper would do. It's a double entendre. It is a play off of the Exodus story, Let My People Go, when Moses was fighting for freedom from the situation that was going on in Egypt. But then it's also me saying at the same time, let my people flow, let my people rap. Stop critiquing what they saying and stop boxing them in and trying to tell them they can't be themselves, and really like let them be and do what God has created them to be and do. And so that's really the powerful thing about that title. And I think when you understand that title, you're really kind of just entering into what the beauty of the book is. So yeah.
Okay, I'm a little jealous because I wrote a book and I hate the title because I let someone else give it a title to I to this day, what are we, 7, 8 years in? I absolutely hate the title. Great book, hate the title. Anyways, congratulations on that. You've got Dr. Eric Dyson, Michael Eric Dyson, writing the introduction.
Yeah.
He is talking about Cypher as a place where the truth gets spoken through rhythm and rhyme. Break that down for people who think a cipher is just a battle rap circle.
Yeah, man, some of my most spiritual experiences were in the freestyle cipher. Like, people don't understand that rappers know the Holy Spirit probably better than so many people in church, because we know
Speak
what
on
it
it.
feels like for the Spirit to jump upon you and give you words that you're like, yo, I don't know where these words come from, but the Spirit is giving me words in real time at the exact moment I need them, and they're moving the people around me. They're impacting the people around me. I see people's facial expression shift. I see the whatever people came in the cipher carrying, I see that lifting off them. So it's like a spiritual experience. And I know for a fact, me, in as many hours as I put into this rap thing, I still don't have the ability to come with some of the things that the Spirit allows me to say and give. So I just know that the cipher is spiritual. Dr. Michael Eric Dyson knows that the cipher is spiritual. And with the things that he's written and the work he's done in advocating for hip hop artists all around the world and for so many years, I knew he was the only person who could really write about that experience and really like make it hit the way that I needed it to hit. So I
Mm.
had to do that. And it was a dream come true. I didn't expect it to be able to happen. It was just something I was saying and telling people that it was going to happen way before I had any connection with him at all. So
How did
grateful.
you connect with him?
Man, I connected with Dr. Michael Eric Dyson basically by sneaking into an event that he was a guest panelist at, sneaking through 3 levels of security, sneaking in like I was a university student in one group on one floor, and dodging a security lady who was checking badges on one floor, and like doing whatever I had to do to get in that room, because I knew that a busy man like him might not respond to an email. And so my mind was like, hey, if I can get in the room with him, and if I can tell him my story, if I can shake his hand, if I can look him eye to eye, then I think there's a good chance that he'll say yes. And I did whatever I had to do that. A guy was actually even carrying me in his arms out of the room. A security dude was carrying me in his arms. And at that exact moment, Dr. Dyson happened to walk through the door. I yelled at the top of my lungs, got his attention, and the guy carried me back to Dr. Dyson. Didn't even let me walk to him myself. Carried me back to him. I had to stretch my arm out over stretch my arm out over the
To shake
security
his hand.
hand just to shake his hand. But when I asked him the story, when I asked him and looked him in the eye, he felt the passion, and I'm grateful that he said yes. Life
Have you
changing.
have you guys kept in touch?
We've kept in touch. We've FaceTimed. We've talked. We've texted.
Mm.
He's continued to introduce me to people in his network. Sometimes he's just hit me and been like, "Hey, I just want to introduce you to such and such. I think this is a person that's going to be intricate and like really important in your journey." And we're even about to do some book dates together. So it's been incredible, man. Incredible.
Might you be coming out to California at all?
Hey, we trying to go everywhere. We trying to go everywhere. Dr. Dyson's a busy man, so like his schedule combined with the busyness of my schedule from being the family stuff and full-time school, but we are trying to go everywhere right now. We've got some East Coast things planned, but we want to go everywhere. We want to come to Cali and show that love there too.
That's what I'm talking about. Now, your through line for this book, it kind of runs from the songs of enslaved Africans through the blues, through gospel, and then it lands on hip hop.
Yeah.
It's a direct lineage claim. Some people are going to push back and say hip hop is secular,
Mm.
commercial, sometimes violent in its context. How do you hold that? How do you hold that tension? All of that.
Man, I think that what I try to do really well in the book is to show people that what all of our Black music genres have in common is the fact that they have an element of lament, that there is a social critique element, that even some of the rhythms and even some of the melodies, though they might change their BPM or though they might actually sound a little different in the musical genre that they're in, but you can actually very clearly see that all of these genres evolve from one another. And the crazy thing that if people are still not convinced is I take it all the way back to Africa. I show people that there is the African roots of what we already had before we were brought over on these slave ships. Before we were brought over, we had specific linguistic traits. We had specific musical, like we are a people that has maintained our Africanness despite all the things that have tried to destroy us and detach us from who we are. And that has been the way we've actually kept kept in tune with them is through the music we've made. And so I really I make that message in a compelling way, where I'm like, if they still denying it after they read the book, they just really don't want to see the truth at that point.
Well, you connect hip hop lyrics to Psalms and to the biblical prophets specifically. So why don't you do this? Give me one example, one verse, one psalm, something side by side.
Yeah, man, so many, but I'll think about, what Tupac does in Dear Mama, for example. What Tupac does in Dear
I think
Mama.
you've been studying me. I think you've been studying me because you got me there.
Yeah, like, we oftentimes, because we're detached from the culture of, the biblical writers, we don't realize what's behind some of their writings. There's a psalm where the psalmist is actually, and I'm blanking on exactly what psalm it is, but the book talks about it. But there's a psalm where the psalmist is reflecting on his childhood. He's reflecting on the pain that he endured. He's reflecting in a sense where he's critiquing his family, he's critiquing his mom, but he's also honoring her at the same time. And when we look at what Tupac's doing and we put it side by side with, the writing of that song, or when we look at Lauryn Hill's ability to, talk about the materialism of society and how we actually want to do better, but we're still enticed by all these things that our flesh desires, and put that next to some of the writing of the Old Testament prophets, you cannot tell me that there is not a consistent thread. And that what these rappers are doing is biblical. And I think there's even something there about the African heritage and even its connection to the ancient Near East. And so I just love being able to put these pieces together for people and help them see them in a very clear and compelling way.
I love that you are able to share that with people so they get that you are very serious and well studied on this. Sometimes especially when in this world right now, people write books, AI books, and they just throw stuff together, but have not really studied
Yeah,
what they're talking about. I think it means a lot that you're able to tie that together for people and show that you are astute in this of what you speak. First of all, because writing a book ain't easy, and you've
yeah,
already done three. I thought it was just two, but you've done three.
yeah,
What is that process like for you?
yeah. I mean, writing a book is very challenging because I've naturally always been writing music. I won a lot of writing contests growing up, so I always was able to write and communicate my ideas and thoughts well on paper. But my main form for the past few decades has been music. But the writing muscle is still there. For me, I'm also an external processor. So for me, my mind actually thinks more clearly and cohesively when I speak out loud. So for me, similar to how a lot of pastors are able to write books, is they actually take their teachings and their in-person speaking engagements and they actually transcribe them, because they speak as if they're as composed as they're writing. And so for me, I get a chance to teach a lot. I teach hip hop classes here in New York City. And so I'm always speaking and talking about these things that the book is about. And so for me, it's easy for me to be able to record what I'm saying and then write those things down. So for me, it's kind of like learning how my mind works. And then school also constantly keeps a hammer on me with backing up your facts with sources and showing where you got things from. And so you combine being a teacher, constantly speaking in front of people, teaching them these things, with also school making you constantly research, study, read a bunch of things. It kind of just creates a different monster where now you're like, I'm always writing papers. I'm always doing this. I might as well write my book on the side while I'm also doing research for school. And it just makes it that much easier for me.
I mean, writing a book is one thing, actually completing the process and getting it published, that is something
Whole
different.
different animal.
Talk to me about that.
You know, I I wanted so badly for this book to have a traditional publisher. I did. For my third book, I felt like it wouldn't be the same level of um, like the stamp of approval if it was another self-published book. I had self-published two books. They were successful by the street. They were successful on the train. They were successful not online. In some regards, I think that is more telling of success because I feel like we live in such a digital world where everybody's focused on people's persona online, but can't nobody actually move people in real life. So there was one element where I definitely felt the value of that, but there was also an element where I was like, at some point, I do need to have an online digital stamp that also shows the proof of what I'm doing in the streets. So I really wanted a publisher, a traditional publisher. I pitched the book to several high-end publishing companies, and I was denied by every single one. And when that happened, I literally told myself, I said, all right, Lord, if you're not opening this door the traditional publishing way, I know what this book is, I know what it's about, and I know what it's going to do, then I guess I'm going to have to do the way I know how, and I'm going to self-publish. I'm going to move my copies in the streets the way I do. But I know after this one, I believe everybody's going to be knocking on my door to work with me. And I really do feel like, with the Dr. Michael Eric Dyson cosign, and just with, each book getting better and better, and me learning my voice and learning how to argue, I definitely can say that, if the publishing companies wasn't messing with me now, they in for a treat. You know what I'm saying? I'm coming.
I hear you. I hear you. You're currently working towards your Masters of Divinity,
Yeah.
studying the biblical language, the original biblical language, right? So how does that scholarship change how you hear today's rap, how you hear Kendrick's verse or J. Cole's verse differently than the average listener? Because your interpretation has to be skewed a little bit, some kind of way, with the in-depth knowledge that you're generating with this work that you're doing.
Yeah. There's so much to that question. I love it because I'm actually in a school that's very different theologically than my background. Like, I grew up in a Black church. I grew up very, what I'm saying, we believe in the Holy Spirit. We'll shout. When we think about the goodness of God, we'll lift our hands, we'll jump, we'll get crazy. But I'm kind of in a very conservative school where they don't really emphasize emotion, and don't really emphasize some of the like excessive gratitude for what God has done, or even that the Holy Spirit can still speak to you in supernatural ways. So I'm being challenged, but I think it's one of the best things for me, because I came into seminary in this master's program already knowing God, knowing who my God is, talking to him regularly, having 4 testimony journals of supernatural things that he's done in my life, words he said to me that have come to pass, words he's given me to tell to other people that have come to pass. So I come into this school where they have a way of viewing God and thinking about him and trying to support him. And I see a lot of great things, but I also am there, not a blank canvas where you can't just tell me things and just feed me something and send me off into the world like many other students, unfortunately. I came into seminary having read the Bible cover to cover 7 times. So I say that to say that as I'm learning the ancient languages, I'm now able to read Hebrew, Greek, Aramaic, go back to the original Bible in the first way that it was written, and then I come back and listen to hip hop. I actually just continue to see more of the richness of my culture, see more of the richness of the Black music tradition. And I think in many ways, I'm able to articulate what so many people, so many great men and women who've gone before me wanted to articulate, but maybe didn't have all the tools that God has blessed me with. And so I see it as my duty to kind of, in many ways, liberate the complexity of what many people have tried to communicate in a way that I think people can understand and recognize.
We are in a very anti-intellectual movement in American history right now. Like,
Yeah.
it's the dummying down of education, the dummying down of facts and data and history is running rampant. I know that has to be like infuriating to you right now as you continue to thrive in an educational pursuit. Like, to me, it's so crazy. So what, am I tripping?
You're spot on. Like, it's super frustrating. I think that's one of the things that I've become more frustrated with as I've been in school. These 2.5 years, I think I've been more privy to misinformation, because so much of my day is perusing facts, is looking through history, is reading books that I never would have picked up if they weren't assigned. And I see how much of everything is misrepresented. You can think about anything that you're passionate about, and there is a narrative about it that you, being an expert, would look and say, what people think this is not true. And when that's something spiritual and when it's something about your faith, you know, it's the same anger that anyone has, but I think it's also times 10 because faith is so polemic. It's like sports. Like if I argue in the barbershop about this team and they arguing about that team, we in there for hours. So I've just been angry at the misinformation that exists. And I see my role as someone who's being equipped to help spread the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, tell the truth. Are there times where you just want to call somebody stupid?
Yo, I be wanting to argue. I be wanting to get online and go crazy with people in the comments. I be wanting to make posts that I know would get me canceled. I would be wanting to, you know, do stuff that, but I also, one of the things I've learned is that there's a power in being composed. Like one of the things that someone told me was the realest compliment they could have gave me. They was like, you know what I'm saying? You've been in this game for a long time rapping, and I be seeing the little, we'll call it Christian beef because I feel like it's so corny. But they be like, yo, I be seeing people arguing and fighting and all this kind of stuff. And sometimes I see people saying stuff that I know you got an opinion on. And I just always see you kind of just stay composed. You don't get into those issues. And I know you have your opinions about them. And that was a compliment because I don't view myself that way. I see myself as oftentimes damaging my own reputation because of my passion. But for someone else to say that they think I'm composed, I'll take it. You know, it was a compliment.
Well, I'm much more mature than I was even 5 years ago, but I will still say yo mama sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I just
Right. Same.
I just want to. There are some things I really want to say to people, but I also, before, you know what I've learned to do now? Before I respond, because there are some people that'll just say things um, out of misinformation or not being educated, but I'll go to their page first and I'll look to see, like, who is this that I'm about to let off on, and I'll be like, they're dumb. Never mind.
And they never had no picture. They never had
Oh,
no picture
I
up.
say that now. I'll be like, get a picture. I'm not.
Exactly.
I'm not responding to someone that has no picture. Like we're
Yeah.
not. No
Yeah.
picture, no friends, two posts. We're not doing that.
Exactly.
Or if your
Exactly.
picture is ugly, so I just won't even say nothing because you already got issues to deal with that
Exactly.
I don't
Your
understand.
life
So
hard enough already.
yes, your little fluffy life. So you're also a husband, father
Yeah.
of two sons,
Yeah.
and your last album, well, Washing Her Feet too.
Yeah. Washing their feet too. Yep.
It's about marriage and commitment. How does that domestic, faithful life sit next to a career built in hip hop, a genre that doesn't always reward that image?
Man, you asking that question added a lot of clarity to my season for real. So I thank you for asking that question. It is the slowest moving album I've ever released, though it is the most powerful album I've ever released. And so I think you saying that highlights that people don't know really what to do with hearing something in the genre that traditionally hasn't, you know, valued or upheld marriage and family as much as it could, and then hearing a whole album that's really doing that. And I'm talking about real stuff. I'm talking about hard stuff. I'm grieving. I'm lamenting. I'm crying. I'm. When I tell you, like, I've been having listening parties for that album every 3 weeks because being in the room and listening to it together with a community of people is where you really understand what that album is. We've had 4, maybe 5 listening parties, and it's one of those spaces where people come in not really knowing what to expect, and they leave kind of just like having so many gems for their own life, married, single, whatever season they're in. They leave with this different perspective, understanding their own childhood experiences with their parents better. And the responses that I've been getting, the hugs that people give me on the way out the door, it lets me know that even though this album right now hasn't yet been, I guess, appreciated on the scale that I believe, good music like our legends that we love and we still listen to, you know what I'm saying, decades later, years later, good music ages over time and it continues to stay relevant. And I really believe this is one of those albums that people going to listen to years from now and they're going to be like, hey, he was snapping. And you know what I'm saying, this might be his best work.
I ask you that question, and then the more I think about it, which I don't know why we're not having this conversation in in the larger hip hop community, but the artists that have been that had the most longevity and most successful are those that have been in long-term relationships. You got your Ice Cube, we got Ice T, we got LL Cool J, we got Method Man, we got Kendrick Lamar. They're all
Yeah,
married.
yeah. And people don't know that. People don't be knowing that.
And not
Relationship,
married last week, not newlyweds.
yeah. Relationships root you. When you out here on the road and everybody's saying they love you, but you could do something or drop an album or make a post where all of a sudden those same people that were screaming that they love you now hate you, you better have somebody at home that's going to stay consistent. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you going to flow with the wind. I can tell an artist when I'm like, you really will move however the fans tell you to move. You don't have no backbone. You don't have no conviction. If people want to hear you sound like such and such, you going to start sounding like such and such. And one thing I've always felt about me is I have real relationships, real people that I've been doing life with. And one of the things that people tell me often is like, they say, when I look at you, I see somebody whose homies from back in the day, elementary school, middle school, is still your homies today. Like you still kick it with the same people that I've always seen you with, because those people know me, good, bad, ugly. They've seen me when I was homeless. They've seen me when I ain't had nobody telling me I was talented. And if you got people who've been with you and they love you for you, those are just people that's going, that you're going to want to keep around when you're successful. And so, I think to your point, those artists who have that, we recognize it and we see it and we see that there's something there.
And Earl, E40. That dude's been married since forever.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't think there's enough emphasis on that. And we let these young ones run wild with this narrative that it's all about, you know what I'm saying, getting women, being drunk, being faded. And it dilutes the real texture of the power of hip hop, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Me and one of my homies, we actually were talking about some of the artists who were divorced that we've all loved and listened to for a long time, but who've been kind of public with their relationship no longer continuing. And we were having a conversation and we was like, hey, don't these rappers seem like they swag kind of gone now? Like they really kind of like, yeah, they posting like that they just out here with all these different women, but it kind of look corny now. It look now like we can see through it. Like, yeah, you still got nice clothes, but you don't look like that same confident man when you was solid with your woman. And it's a spiritual thing. So I love that you brought that up.
If a reader picks up Let My People Flow, expecting music history or something that changes them, once they close it, they're changed.
Yeah.
What do you want that change to be? What do you want that to look like?
Man, I want them to literally put my book down and be like, who have I not been listening to? And who have I identified in my life as having nothing good that they could offer me? And whoever that person is, I'm going to dive into their words, their work, their music. Like it's beyond just music for me. Though I really do believe that we've treated our hip hop artists with a level of disrespect. I in general believe everybody can get something from this book of learning how to humbly listen to the people that they most disagree with or feel that they have nothing to offer them. That's the person that I feel like we all really can learn so much from, is the person we've said can't teach me nothing. And so I want them to leave changed and to kind of feel hungry to listen again and to open their ears and give somebody a try that they wrote off as being unworthy.
Who's your top 5?
Oof. I'm gonna go Kanye West. I'm gonna go Nas. I'm gonna go Jay-Z, Lupe, and I'll probably throw Andre 3 Stacks in that.
I heard that.
Yeah. They not in order, but that's my top 5.
Okay. We'll leave that there.
You which I gotta know your top 5 now, because you got some opinions about that top 5 I just said.
Of course I got some opinions. I got Pac at the top.
Okay.
40 after that, because
Nice.
he's definitely an innovator. And then I have Eminem. And those are my top three. And let me tell you why Eminem. Because we
Okay.
started our conversation about how I wound up getting into what I do, right? And I think the one thing that he taught Eminem, on top of his lyrical uh, demeanor and the way he's able to flow, he was the one that taught me, when you let people know your issues first, they can't ever bring those back up on you. Like, he was
Yeah.
one of the first that just came with, I'm gonna give you all of me, good, bad, and ugly, especially the ugly. So now when I go at you, you ain't got nothing. Like, you
Yeah.
have nothing. And when it comes to public relations and personal branding, that's one of the first things I have to teach people is you have to put your dirt out there. You have,
Yeah.
because you have to get comfortable with it. You
That's
have
so
to
true.
acknowledge what has happened in your life before you can attack others and grow. Because if we're still dealing with stuff, we're never going to get past it.
Yeah.
So those are my top three. I'll just leave that there.
I love that. And I love that top three even more because of the explanation you gave of why they so powerful to you. So that's fire. That's fire.
Yeah, it's just and everything else after that. So Nas, my household is a Nas household. Love, love, love Kendrick. Obviously, I'm a
Yeah.
West Coast girl, so I could throw MC Hammer in there. It has revolution as he was.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot to it, but those are my top three, and then everything else is under there because I have an appreciation for the art. I also understand poetry, and we can get into that and
Yeah.
so much. So we could
Fire.
actually continue this conversation, and maybe when you come to California, we'll have to do a live session. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love the state of California so much. Whenever I get a chance to be there, the weather. So I love that. Love that.
Awesome. Well, you keep me posted on what you decide to do, you and Mr. Michael Eric Dyson, and your grind up with this book, because I'd love to continue to support. Let the people know how they can continue to support you and follow your story and your journey.
Man, y'all can support me at cellushamilton.com. That's CELLUS Hamilton.com. I'm on social media everywhere under my name, Cellus Hamilton. And you know what I'm saying? I like to tell people like this, I'm in the streets. You know what I'm saying? If you ever in New York City, if you in Harlem, you know what I'm saying? I'm out here with the people. I'm a man of the people. I love my community. I love my city. And you know what I'm saying? You can find me online, but you can also find me with the people. So
Love to hear it. Mr. Hamilton, he is an author of Let My People Flow. I want you guys to get that book. Find him at cellushamilton.com and on Instagram and with the people. Clearly, he in the street, so
I'm
get
in
out
the
there in New
streets.
York.
Let my people flow. We in the streets with it.
Absolutely. Here's my controller take on all this, okay? So, hip hop didn't fall from the sky in 1973. It walked out of a church, through a cotton field, and onto a Bronx or Oakland block. Anybody telling you it's just music hasn't been listening. And if you don't control the narrative, the streets will, and it won't be in your favor. Listen, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. You never know who shows up here. Drop a comment, okay? We want to know, what's the last hip hop verse that you remember that hit you right in your chest, okay? Or scripture, or both. And for the deeper dive, head to Substack, Control the Narrative, because I'm going to write about him. And I might even have a couple passages from the book. Yeah, Control the Narrative on Substack. Control the narrative, control the mic, control the camera, and control the rooms that you are in. Until next time, we'll see you later.